Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. A lot of people are saying that Khamzat versus Dricus Duplessis was actually a pretty boring fight. Now, I will, if you have that mindset, then I can and will completely explain to you why that is not the case. And it, more than anything, it is just a difference in opinion if the fight is boring or not. Now, the fight went, some people would say unexpected and some people would say expected, which is a very small amount of people. I personally think it obviously went very unexpected as far as I'm aware, because we all expected Hamza to win by a submission or even a knockout if Hamza were to win, and we all thought that Dricus would have much more power in defending the takedowns and actually striking with Khamzat and not being controlled for almost the entire fight, especially in the later rounds. Now, the thing that happened is that Khamzat's wrestling and takedowns were so dominant, and Dricus's wrestling defense, takedown defense, was so bad that it was basically a one-sided fight throughout the entire fight. Now, let's say what we imagine, like hypothetically, what could have happened if Dricus's takedown defense was better, was actually better, and he actually could strike for a bit. Then the fight would obviously be less boring. But at this point, what can you say? Khamzat did what he was supposed to do, and he did it better. Now you could make a case for why Khamzat did not chase for the submission. I'll be honest. If, let's just say this, okay, if Khamzat were to chase for the submission, it is most likely that he would have lost control. He would have lost control of his crucifix, and Dricus would have taken control or like get up. That is the exact reason. More than anything, Khamzat just played this a bit safer than he would usually. Now, other people who Hamza easily submitted, like Kevin Holland and Robert Whittaker, their wrestling is obviously way worse than Dricus's, which is the reason why Khamzat could not finish Dricus as easily as he did to Robert Whittaker. Now, the more than anything, you have to understand why people are calling this a boring fight. If you want to watch pure wrestling, like if there's a small amount of people who really enjoy watching wrestling, like me, I really enjoy competitive wrestling because I believe I can learn a lot from it. For the people like those, it was a very entertaining fight, like for me also, because like it doesn't matter if a fight is only striking or only wrestling. It's a good fight, or even like mixed together, like Rodriguez with Adesanya. Like I don't mind if a fight is just pure wrestling. I don't mind that because it's, end of the day, it is part of MMA. And more than anything, wrestling is the capital of fighting, I would say, like the capital of fighting styles. Now, like the people who don't want to see wrestling, don't want to see wrestling, then I get it. For them, it was definitely a boring fight. Now, they obviously enjoy strikers more than wrestlers, which I do. But more than anything, as I said, I don't really hate watching wrestling, because end of the day, it is MMA, and any and all type of fights are entertaining. More than anything, like, what is a boring fight? A boring fight is when two fighters, they do not punch each other, they do not engage in any type of combat, they don't shoot for takedowns, they don't try to wrestle, they don't do nothing. For example, like Yoel Romero versus Izzy Adesanya, that was a very boring fight because none of the guys wanted to engage in fighting. Whereas in this fight, Khamzat obviously engaged in the fighting in the form of wrestling from the very first round. And guess what? I know the punches had basically nothing to them, but this is the most punches landed in any UFC fight of all time. So you have to really give it up for Khamzat at that point, because it was impressive. Like, for the people who are saying this was a boring fight, yes, this was, but just realize, bro, like, this was a boring fight, but guess what? It was also very impressive and very dominant. It was a very impressive fight. Like, that's not a regular middleweight. Like, that's not a, like, what it did to DDP was even more impressive than what DDP did to Adesanya, I would say, because Adesanya actually lost to Strickland before. He got knocked out cold against Pereira, but we have Dricus who obviously had the biggest win of his career, like biggest win streak of his career, and he just went through and destroyed Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland 2 times, and also his Adesanya. So that's far more impressive than what Dricus did to Adesanya. And I know that was obviously a much more interesting fight, but let's say if Khamzat Chimaev fought a pure striker like Izzy Adesanya or Sean Strickland, then I would say the fight would have ended in a very early knockout. But Dricus obviously has much higher wrestling defense, and he obviously has far more superior wrestling compared to those guys, which made this fight more competitive than what you would have seen against a striker, as I said. But at the same time, this fight did not end in a submission because of that. You know, one of the many complaints people have is of Dricus Duplessis, like why he could not attack, like be the attacker in the final rounds. You know, people are just being harsh on him, bro. Like, you know, like if you see like their corners, like if you like realize that in their corners, like bro, Dricus was gassed out even after the third round. You know, and to be honest, like fair enough, bro, fair enough. Like he just got mocked by an absolute animal for like 3 rounds straight. So what can you do really? Like at that point, you're like, and no one expected Khamzat to have the level of cardio that he had. He went toe to toe against Dricus and he absolutely destroyed him in every single way that he wanted. Basically, you know, if Khamzat wanted, he could have obviously striked with him. He could have obviously like make it like a more engaging fight. But guess what? He was actually smart. You know, one of the things which I really hate about MMA is when fighters who have like a good type of fighting style, for example striking or wrestling or jiu-jitsu, you know, whatever, and they go out and they say, nah, I got good wrestling, but nah, I'm gonna strike with this guy, I'm gonna beat this guy in his own game. That's such a dumb statement, and that's such a dumb thing to do and say. Like that's basically the dumbest way you can end your career. For example, look at Bilal Muhammad. His career in like his last fight, it was like such a funny yet I would say satisfying end, because he was trash talking so much against Dricus Duplessis, Sean Strickland. He before even one defense, he pulled out of his first defense against Shafkat. And he, before even making his first defense, he was talking about being a double champion, whatever. And trust me when I say this, if Bilal Muhammad applied, instead of like focusing on striking in his training camp, if he were to make his wrestling better, and if he started wrestling from the very first round, then he would have absolutely destroyed JDM. Mark my words. And if he does that next time, if he gets a shot at him, and for example, like if you when you will see Islam versus JDM, you will see what I mean. Islam obviously won't strike with him. Islam ain't dumb. Islam is gonna try to wrestle him from the beginning and try to submit him, because Islam is actually smart. He isn't dumb. Obviously, he isn't that dumb. He's the pound for second best fighter in the world. And on the other hand, we have another fighter who I would like to share as an example is Ankalaev, Magomed Ankalaev. Against Alex Pereira, he did not wrestle. Guess what? He did not wrestle because wrestling is not his game. He is a striker. He does not have. I think he only has like one submission or something. He is not a striker. A lot of people, like they talk shit and they say like, why did Magomed not wrestle with Alex Pereira? You have to understand, his main game is striking. He is a striker first and a wrestler second. That is the exact reason why he absolutely destroyed Pereira. And his boxing was much better than Alex Pereira. Even his kicks, it was much better. And I believe like if in the rematch like he does the same thing, like he focuses on what he does best, then yeah, I do believe that Magomed will absolutely destroy Pereira, and he might even get the knockout. Like in their first fight, like at the very end of the second round, Magomed, like he stunned Pereira and he almost got near a knockout against Pereira. It was just because of the round ended too early for Magomed at least. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Dricus versus Khamzat, it was not a boring fight unless you hate wrestling. Simply that's it. And if you really enjoy MMA as a whole, other than wrestling, other than just pure wrestling, then there's no reason for you to hate on that fight. That's just it. And to be honest, I'm kind of like confused, like why people are blaming Khamzat or Drikas for it, because that was an absolute war no matter what. Both guys tried their best and both guys played to their advantage. Khamzat at least. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the guys. You guys make sure to know what you guys think, and inshallah I'll see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.